A pretty disturbing story. It's about a Dallas woman who called 911 on the day she was allegedly killed by her ex-husband. Despite hearing her screams for help over the phone, it took nearly an hour for police to arrive. Rock-Setter's Kate Snow is here to tell us more. Kate, good morning.
Good morning to you, Lester. You know, Dallas's 911 system has come under fire for years. It was known for being understaffed, overwhelmed by more than 2 million calls a year. But last summer, one case became a wake-up call that the city needed to treat domestic violence calls a lot more seriously.
Dallas 911, this is Tanita. What is your emergency?
On a Friday morning in Dallas last August, a woman was clearly in trouble.
Hello?
Deanna Cook never actually spoke to the 911 operator, but her screams and pleading lasted for close to 9 minutes. Her attacker is heard on the tape, too. 2 days later, when Deanna didn't show up for church, her family went to her home and kicked in the door.
And I looked at all the stuff on the floor, and I walked in the bathroom.
Okay. So that's when we found her. Well, she was in the bathtub, and, I mean, it was horrible.
Her family would later learn that Deanna called 911 on the day she died, and that it took nearly an hour for officers to get to her house. On the way, they stopped at a 7-Eleven, and when they arrived at the home, they knocked on the door and left after 5 minutes.
You knew the call came from her. Why didn't you do what you're supposed to do?
What did it say to women in this city when that happened?
It would say to a woman that these aren't priority calls.
Paige Flink is the head of one of Dallas's largest family violence centers.
It would say to a woman that sometimes they're going to get away with it. And maybe you do everything right and you still die.
Last year, the 911 call center in Dallas was so short-staffed that 30% of the operator positions were unfilled. At the same time, incidents of domestic violence were at a record high.
In 2011, we had 10 domestic violence murders. In 2012, we had 26. So we know that we have a problem.
Tanita Hopkins was the 911 operator who took Deanna's call. They blamed you. They said Deanna Cook died because of a botched 911 call that was mishandled by you.
I didn't blame people for thinking that because they don't know all the information.
And the obvious question is, how could you not stand up and scream and say, hey, I got to get somebody to this person right now?
I didn't hear it. If I heard as much as you're saying, then I would have.
Tanita says the headsets that 911 operators in Dallas use don't block out background noise.
What I did hear initially was the screaming. To me, that was enough to get the police there.
But of course, that's not what happened. Tanita Hopkins says she became the scapegoat for an entire emergency response system that broke down every step of the way. But she says she's okay with that because of improvements that have been made since Deanna's death. Better headsets now, more 911 operators, and a higher priority now, Lester, for domestic violence calls.
When we hear the word domestic, it almost has a connotation that not as serious.
Not as urgent or something.
And
right.
We know that's not the case in reality.
That's right. And so they have made changes now because of Deanna's case.
All right, Kate Snow, thanks very much. Good to have you here.